welcome back to another fabulous video channel. I'm Jay from Jay Books Corner, and today we are going to talk about this series that is now being called Let's Solve a Murder Together. This is episode number 1, and this is a book series where we read a single novel that depicts a murder mystery, somewhat of a whodunit. If you guys have any suggestions in the comments, please let me know. I keep searching for them, and I keep ending up really blank or stories I don't really think would be interesting, so do let me know in the comments down below. It can be any length of a novel, it can be a novella. This one that we're going to talk about today is a novella. But by the way, so I spoiled the entire book throughout this video, and we solved the murder with either the main character or the characters involved. It can be thrillers, it can be suspense, it can be mysteries, I don't care. It just kind of has to be someone died and we're solving the murder of who did it. So like a whodunit, you know? With that being said, I also took the opportunity to close out a series. So I did a video on A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, I'll put it in the cards, where I reviewed and ranked every single one of those books in a spoilerly fashion. And I figured if I'm going to do Killjoy, which is a novella to that series, I should probably do the same. I will mention throughout this video, I really don't put any really spoilers on the story that is being told, but because the story being told is basically the murder mystery that I do try to solve in this video, you could count it as I read the whole book to you. Okay? Just know that. I don't really talk about Pip and her life and what that means and other characters around her. I'm really only talking about the characters they're playing. So this story follows Pip as she is invited to a dinner party that is a murder mystery where she plays the character of Celia, and she is there to solve her uncle's murder of Reginald Remy, who technically I guess is somewhat of a spoiler. I don't know. Yeah, no, it's in the back. Okay. So yeah, it's in the first like few chapters that he dies, and so we'll go through it, and it's very fun. It's a little bit of a long video because I have a lot of theories and stuff, and I had a lot of fun filming it, and so we'll be doing others like it as well. Like I said, this is the start of a new challenge. I'd like to mention this was not my original idea, or it's not an original idea of my own. I actually got this from Books and Lala. She has a series on her channel that's very similar to this. So if you feel like, oh, that's why is it so similar? That's the reason why I got it from her. And it just sounded like such a fun idea. So I'm doing it with you guys as well. We'll jump into the video. Yeah, cool. So the book starts out with a letter from Connor to Celia Byrne, or aka Pip Fitz and Boye, who I love. We all love Pip. This is where Pip turned. I don't want to spoil that series in case you've never read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I highly recommend you go read that series. So it's just simply you guys there invited to celebrate my 74th birthday at Rain Manor on Joy. My private island off the west coast of Scotland, which is actually at Connor's house, obviously. Next Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Yours sincerely, Reginald Remy, but it's actually, and then please open for additional information, and then we get fun stuff. Oh my gosh. So we get her character. So her character for this murder mystery game, you'll be playing the role of Celia Byrne. Okay. We'll do a montage of me writing all this shit down. But let's go through it all. I'm going to read it to you. I'm so excited. So, you're 29 years old, niece of Reginald Remy, the patriarch of Remy's family and owner of the Remy Hotels and Casinos Empire in London. You're an orphan. Your parents died when you were young. You have never been totally welcomed into the Remy family, despite that being your only living relatives. You're bitter about this, and the fact that that's incredibly wealthy Reginald Remy has never offered to help you out financially. You currently work in London as a governess to a well-off family. So, then they offer some costume suggestions. It's set back in the 1920s and so forth. We'll jump into the other characters on the other page. So the other characters are Robert Bobby Rennie. The elder son of Reginald Remy will be played by Aunt Lo. The younger Ralph Rennie, the younger son of Reginald Remy, will be played by Zach Chen. Lizzie Remy, the wife of Ralph Remy, will be played by Lauren Gibson. Humphrey Todd, the butler at Remy's Mansion, will be played by Connor Reynolds. And then we have Dora Keene, the cook at Remy's Mansion, will be played by Cara Ward. Prepare yourself for an unforgettable night of murder and mystery. And then the book starts. I'm so excited. I'm really excited. So I'll check in as we continue onwards, and we'll add to the murder suspect board as we learn things. I think we're gonna actually do like a whole wall, but I don't know. I'm gonna go get our first character on there though. And I'll talk to you soon. Alright, the murder mystery has begun. Let's start with chapter 1. Like in these updates, we're gonna try to solve the murder. So the first chapter is introducing two of all our characters, and our cast character is not super big, but they're not super small. They're all played by characters if you're familiar with the series. I'm gonna try my hardest not to spoil the series at all in here whatsoever. All I'm going to talk about is the book itself. In case you've never read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, I don't want to ruin that for you. It's probably not going to be super connected at that. This takes place before she's even writing the paper. That is the whole point of that series. Let's go ahead and get started. It's actually where she's choosing the paper, I think. Which is really interesting. What a cool idea. So they all come into the house, Connor's house, which is the Reginald's house, or the Remy's house. And in this house, I really liked how it was really described. I thought it was beautifully described. I thought Holly Jackson did a good job. I felt like all the characters really popped, just like the characters that I knew. I really liked. By the end of the first chapter, they have given up their phones, and so they're officially in the game. And so everybody is now being called by their names. Not really. They're being called by like Kara, Connor type of thing. Not their other names, such as that were given to us at the very beginning. That's perfectly fine. They're all sitting down at their table. Connor, who is Humphrey Todd, which is the butler at the manor, who's played by Connor Reynolds, had said that it's very weird that Remy had not come down for dinner. They all agreed, and so they all went searching. And our main character, Celia or Pip, and it's going to be a little confusing that way, but it's fine, end up going across Remy's study, where he is found brutally murdered. And now the question is, who murdered him? And I'll update you for chapter 2. We are building a wall. I have all the little things down. I don't know if I'm going to put the different rooms. I'll probably put that he was murdered in the study and that they started out in the dining room. And we'll have a suspect side and everything else. We'll do that tomorrow once I get a little deeper into the book as I work through it this week. But it was a really good first little short chapter, and I'm excited to go on this mystery with you. Okay, so this is my wall. It's not great, but you know what? We're doing the best we can, right? So we have Pip, who is playing by Celia, Reginald Renmy, who was the person who invited everybody, who originally I put Connor down, but it actually ended up being Jamie. He ended up dying. He ended up dying in the study. So we know it's very bloody, so I'm assuming by a knife. We have Fedora, who's played by Kara, Pip's best friend. We have Connor, who invited everybody, who's playing Humphrey, who is the butler. We have Lizzie, who's played by Lauren. Ralph, played by Zach. Now we have like a whole board. So the way this will work, so essentially the way it's going to work is that when I suspect somebody, I think we'll put it over here, but we'll put it below it, and that will be the suspect list. And if there's any locations that they have, any weapons that they have, they will also go down the list. And we'll try this one out this time around. And let me know how you guys think. I wanted to do it in a brighter location, such as like this location on this wall, because that's like the location that we watch movies on, and we do watch movies on this wall, so I can't do that. Sucks, but it's true. So that's the wall that we're at. Alright, I'll update you guys when I read more. Welcome back. So the things that we learned in chapter 2 is that Jamie, who originally was playing the dead guy, is now the inspector. So the inspector got added to the board because the inspector could still have been the murderer. Today, we also learned about motivation. This whole thing was about how people realize we don't have their alibis or anything else like that for the time of the murder. We'll learn that next chapter. But this chapter was all about their relations. We're going to start with Ant over here, which is played by Robert, or who was Bobby, and Bobby was the son, the oldest son, Reginald, who died, and he was paying, he originally was supposed to like inherit everything that his dad had made. He backed out of that, and now his dad pays for his whole entire life, essentially. So I actually do think it would have been bad for him to murder his dad, so we're actually declaring him not a suspect right away. I wrote down a little post-it notes that you guys can kind of see on me. Not a good motive, or good motive, perfect motives, things like that. The next character we have is Ralph Remy. So Ralph is right here, and that's played by Zach. So the thing we learned about Ralph is that he is 36 years old, and that he is planning on taking the family business. His dad is basically retired, and it's basically just his. And he does have his wife, who's played by Lauren. I did declare Ralph's motive pretty okay, because I do think he could have murdered his dad in order to get the funds early. So Lizzie also works with the business, but hers is also okay motive, because it does seem like the family doesn't like her, and that they don't think she owns her place, even though she believes she has, because she is just working with, she's up there with her husband. So I said, once again, it was an okay motive. I think they could be working together, trying to get those funds. Moving on. The next one being Pip's character, Celia, born age 29. Reginald was his uncle, and they basically disowned her. She's not part of the family, and whole 9 yards. And so I said this is a great motive to get revenge, and also to possibly maybe take that family money. My parents both died tragically when I was younger, so Remy are the only family I have. They probably didn't need a reminder of that. How nice that you all work at the family company. I've never been offered such a thing. I'm currently working as a governess in London, teaching children of a very welcoming family. Some animosity, so I said that was an excellent motive, because revenge is best served. Also very interesting, Sal did get mentioned, and I do think this is the reason why she ends up taking the project on. Okay, we have two more. So we have Humphrey Todd. Humphrey is the butler, and he talked nothing but highly of the manor and the treatings, and so I declared it a bad motive because he seemed too kind, really is the only response. Okay, and then lastly we have only been there for about 6 months, and she's took nothing but highly of it, and she's 86, or she's 56, even though I've heard some of you guys gossiping that she looked 86 years old, so she does have some animosity towards the group around her, but not so much Reginald, apparently. So I declared it a bad motive. Obviously, the inspector does not have a motive. So some other things to take note of outside of the fact that everybody has a motive. Some are good. The only really good motive would be Pip's, which is a great motive, is the fact that Reginald, one, did die in the study, and they died by someone he knew, which makes sense through the cast of characters. So it does make me believe that Inspector Howard Way is not the killer, only because of this, but Inspector is the one who's telling us, so maybe it just wasn't out, period. I don't really know. Then we have the actual murder, which was a stab through the heart, one quick blow, dead instantly. So he died by a stab. Reginald Lewis. That brings us up to the end of chapter 2. The other thing, another page of the booklet, which is for her alibi. Her alibi states that, which we'll do, I'll write down all the alibis and we'll put them on the list. But her alibi is she needs to claim that you were in bed taking a nap, your allergies have been playing up, and you thought it's best to try to get some rest before the big birthday dinner. And then also, she needs to listen carefully to other guest alibis, that's something we need to do. And she also needs to throw Lizzie Rennie, which is somebody who I am suspecting, underneath the bus, because her alibi is going to be she was taking a bath, but the pipes are very loud, and so she would have heard if she was taking a bath. The drama is about to ensue. Alright, I'll update you guys when I read chapter 3. I don't know how many chapters there are. I'm hoping not a bunch. Okay, I'll update you guys soon. Hello, we are back with a huge update. So, decided pretty early on, because this video was getting a little too long, and I don't know how many of you guys are going to like it, or how many of you guys are going to enjoy it. So I decided I just read a couple of chapters, take some notes, and then we can put the notes on the wall, because I got some suspects. So I think we ended with chapter 3, so we have 3 chapters to cover, so many post-it notes to go over. Okay, first starting with Ralph was the last person to see Reggie alive. Okay, so then we went into alibis. Eventually, I'm going to read them all out to you, everybody's different alibis. But with everybody's different alibis, they actually ended up concluding into nothing, because only one person had an actual clue. So, the first thing we're going to talk about is Humphrey, of course, is the butler, and he was setting up the table, and he later walked around the property. This would be a common occurrence, but that way. There is a total of about an hour and 15 minutes from the time the dinner starts and the time that he was last seen alive, so there's that. That's not written down. Bobby was walking around the grounds, but no one saw him. Bobby is a top suspect. Okay, Dora also took a stroll and saw her either, but remember, Dora took a stroll. That's gonna be important. Pip was in her room the entire time, supposedly. Celia seems particularly shady. And then Lizzie was alone in the bath, but for an hour and 15 minutes, but there was no pipes running. So that means it doesn't sound good right from the front. Continuing onwards, Doris has a note for her alibi. Her note was sent to her from RR saying that she needed to make a moist carrot cake. That was technically clue 1. Alright, the next thing doesn't happen. They had pizza and stuff. Once again, the book is really good. The story is really good, especially if you're familiar with all the characters. But, like, we're here about the mystery. The safe, which I'm having a fun time while reading, by the way. The safe was cleared. That was, like, one of the big things from the study. Also, the knife was taken from the kitchen. Clue number 2 was a document in the safe with his will, written the previous leak, and Bobby was excluded from it. Bobby was written out of the will, and it was torn up. Okay, then we got introduced to a new murder. Rose, the mom, had died a year prior. Everybody is more under the suspect that Bobby did it. So the question I had, did Bobby kill her? Because most people are saying that Bobby did kill her. Then there was a conversation that Celia had where it sounded like she was saying a safe code. 531-12-7. Pip's note said that she needs to make a life for this, and saying that it was from her boss. But the conversation happened really late at night. So did she try to break into it? Then we get to the interesting part of it. The business is failing. Lizzie has been called a sticky fingers, and they believe that she is taking money off the top, which means that they're in shambles. Could be a good reason to murder. a good motivation. So then I'm assuming it was basically confirmed that Lizzie was stealing, and Pip believes it's great motivation. I do agree, for murder. I think that brings us all the way up to chapter 7, which is where I ended on my notes taking. With all the information on the board, it's a lot of information on the board, of course. I'm thinking these are my best guesses. Okay, if it's between, you ready? Yeah, Lizzie or her husband Ralph, because maybe Lizzie was stealing, but she wanted to commit murder, so she convinced her husband to do it. Also, or obviously Bobby. Bobby could have murdered both his parents. So it's also revealed that Bobby had a gambling problem. I took a note of. Bobby is a gambler. He ran with a bad crew of people, and he was told if he ever gambles again, he'd be cut off. So what they found out that Bobby was gambling again, got taken out of the will, and then murdered. Which still puts Bobby, at my point, to be the top suspect. Interestingly enough, I didn't think he had a good enough motivation, because he was getting his own money from him. But if he's taken out of the will, then he loses everything, which makes it a great motivation. Now here's the thing, we still have Celia over here. We still have Celia up to very far, who we don't know too much information on, and because Pip is playing her, we just don't have that much information. So it could be Celia, because also I'm wondering if anybody else is gonna get murdered, or if this is a single whodunit. Obviously we have the murder before, but that one's pretty much solved. We're all pretty sure it's Bobby. At least the family is. So I'll update you guys. I might come through before the reveal and go through all the information I learned, and then we'll do the reveal together. But I'm gonna say it's between my top 4 contenders. Celia, because we just don't know much information. Bobby, because too many lines are crossing over to him. Then we also have Lizzie and Ralph. It could be either one of them, maybe. There's also there could be an affair going on in the family. Not too much has been divulged about that one yet. So, update you soon. Alright, we're here with the final update. But this is not about Pip. This is about Celia. Over the last few chapters, I have learned quite a bit of information. Almost everything points to one suspect, and we gotta talk about it. It's too fun not to do again, so even if no one watches this video, still doing it again. Alrighty, first things first. Humphrey wanted time off. He also had a case of possibly smallpox, which is not really sure. Or polio. Then Dora. Then my question for Dora. Dora has been the one that's kind of a little shaky on everything. People think she might have murdered someone, threatened someone to be here. So could she be the murderer? Maybe she is. I truly don't know, but I'm having way too much fun. So then we got a big reveal of secrets. And the biggest one that I took away from this is Celia's secret of being a spy for the government, because I believe Reginald was a communist. I'm not even joking. So she broke into the safe, finding nothing but a checkbook, which she left behind because Celia's dumbass, and I'm not going to explain how that relates to Pip. And if you know, you know. And broke into the safe because she's a secret agent and she needs to lie about it. But does that mean she's the murderer? We'll find out very soon. I do know the answer to that question. I would say the next relatively biggest one is that Lizzie and Bobby are having an affair. So that's interesting. I'm also going to go under Lizzie because I think once again it just really does show us that Lizzie and Bob are the top suspects here. They are the top suspect. Ralph, maybe it's RR who signs the final letter, but we're not there yet. I'm jumping ahead. Bobby has also been cut off because he has been gambling again. Another important aspect, the murder suspect board. I'm just saying. And then we learn, everybody learns if they're the killer or not, this whole sequence, and we learn that Celia is not the killer. Celia is officially off the suspect board because, well, the game told us. The game tells you. No, I'm assuming it's true. Then we have some good hijinks in between here that doesn't really particularly matter up until we get the final clue. Then we get to make the suspects, right? So tonight before the dinner, you promised me we both want this, and it's not too late to go back, and after everything we've already done, it will be all be fine. Remember, he does not deserve our grit or sympathy. I'll see you later, RR. So that brings us to two brothers. We have Ralph, and then we also have Bobby, which is short for Robert, who could be the murderers. Once again, I don't think Ralph is here. He was the last person to see Reggie alive, but yeah, let's exclude that. Okay, let's exclude that point. These lines are too big. They're the biggest one. It and Celia. And then, of course, we have Reginald, who's dead. That's why this is so big. So, and I do believe that Bobby killed his mom. And so, like, it would make sense for Bobby to come back and murder his dad. Especially he's been cut off. And Lizzie doesn't feel like she's good enough. And so maybe they're planning it together. And that's who the note was for. And so that was kind of what. Then, the final thing that Pip ends up finding during an altercation, that's all I'll say, is Reginald had cancer. See, I'm spoiling half the book. But the actual other half, like the part that you would read this for, you'd only read this for if you know the characters. And with the fact that Lizzie might be stealing, I forgot about that little point. That's why we write everything down. And that brings us to, well done, Celia. You made it tonight. Who do you think did the murder? Let's read and find out together, live. Top suspects, right before we read the murderer. I do think it's Bobby. I would say between Bobby and Lizzie. Dora has made a pretty big case for herself for being the murderer, but I'm going to say it's between these two. Once again, that's not the point of the story, yet I'm taking it and I'm running. So Lizzie thinks it's Dora due to business secrets. Okay, so this is interesting. Pip does not believe it's Bobby. She also says it's not Dora. She gestured to Kara, is a plant sent by the girl's family they threatened the last cook to make her quit, and Dora got herself employed here to keep an eye on the running business, doing a report back, but did she not murder my Uncle Reginald? Why would she? There was nothing for her in the Gonzos to gain up from that. Lizzie, you certainly don't come out of this looking so rosy. You've been stealing from the Remy family, skimming money from the London casino. Perhaps you were trying to gain some financial security in case your husband found out about you sleeping with his brother and discovered you and you lost everything. Reginald worked out that you were the thief, and maybe you were worried of him going to the stories, but you are not the murderer, though you probably relieved he is dead. Humphrey Todd! You hated Reginald Remy. You even wished him dead. You said the reason was because asked for times off to work to visit your daughter that he denied you. That was true, she paused. But it was only part of it was true. The reason you wanted time off 2 weeks ago was because your daughter, the only family you have left the whole world, had contracted the deadly disease of smallpox. But Reginald said no. Your daughter had died soon after. You never got a chance to say goodbye. That's why you hated him. And on the end, and revenge certainly is a strong motive, but you also did not kill Reginald Remy. For my own part, she said. Yes, Humphrey, you are pretty right. I am a spy working for His Majesty's Secret Service, and I was instructed to investigate my uncle and learn he was funding a communist, which he was. Reginald wasn't funding communists. He was simply settling his outstanding debts, sending money off to an old friend who had saved his life. He was not. I think I wrote down that he was, and I didn't pull that one out. Yeah, I wrote Reginald is a communist. I guess that's wrong. Bad clue for Jacob for picking up on. That's fine. A secret clue was hidden in the basement for River went down as a fuse. Reginald was dying of lung cancer, and the doctor told him he did not have much time left, and then just a couple of weeks ago, the doctor sent a load of money to keep his mouth shut about this. Shit, Zach said, casting his eyes down at the clue. Oh, shit, indeed, Pip continued. And while you are right, Dora, that everything seemed to be pointing to Bobby Remy, there's precise reason for that. But while the rest of us didn't have alibis for the time of the murder, 2 people actually did. Lizzie and Bobby Remy were together at the time of the murder, having more relations, no doubt. It's something that Lizzie would never admit to, especially not in front of her husband, Ralph. That is true, they were together because they were fucking, like I said. Because she's terrified of divorce and losing the comfortable, wealthy life she had grown accustomed to, Bobby had played along too and said he was alone on a walk because Lizzie would never vouch for him and he knew it. And so did our killer, who knew exactly what Bobby Remy would be at the time of the murder and that never be able to prove he had an alibi, so neither Lizzie nor Bobby is the murderer. At least one final person's guess. Ralph Lemmy, you are the killer. Although I'm not sure we can really call you a killer, seeing your father was in on it and wanted you to do it. So we're going full Knives Out. That's an interesting choice. Holly. That's right. The whole thing was an elaborate plan set up by Ralph Rennie, Reginald Remy, and the one other person, she paused. Inspector Howard Way. Ralph has always suspected that his brother Bobby murdered their mother last year, pushed her off the cliff, and because she found out about his gambling again, Reginald Remy also knew deep down that his elder son was a murderer and had robbed him of the love of his life, but this wasn't the first time Bobby had killed someone. Oh no, see, after Reginald Remy paid off Bobby's gambling debts to loan sharks threatening his son's life, Bobby actually joined them. He was a member of the East End Streeters gangs, and seen dealing cocaine with them at the Grazers. This is all things that were talked about. A violent game that Inspector Howard Way in Scotland Yard had many dealings with before. Your partner, Inspector, went undercover to try to expose the game's drug network and was gunned down for it, but you already know exactly who was in that shot. Who was that shot him? It was Bobby Remy. At least 2 murders underneath his belt, and yet he would never face justice for either. Either could be proved, and Bobby would continue living his life free to kill again if in need arose. Bobby was a murderer. I was right. Now, technically, I totally said Ralph was not, and yet it does seem like Ralph is. So, but it was like a group killing, so does it really count? No. Unless someone stopped him. Fast forward to just a couple of months ago when Roger Remy found out he was dying, and he knew he would never live to see justice for his poor wife, and that his elder son was a very dangerous man. So he hatched a plan with his older son Ralph. Bobby would never be caught for the previous 2 murders he committed. They could make damn well sure that he'd go down for another murder, the murder of Reginald Remy. which, you know, he would have. Reginald was going to die anyway. They might as well achieve something with his death and have Bobby locked away for life and pay out the doctor so no one would work it out. Not only would Ralph find justice for his mother, but he could put a stop to the affair between his wife and his brother, in which he knew about. Ralph and Reginald must have looked into Bobby's past, made the connection with the dead policeman, and then that's when they approached Inspector Howard, and he came in on the plan too. You two were desperate to see justice for your late partner and to get dangerous man off the stairs, but he's not part of the game, Shirley, Lauren said. You think that, Pip said, her voice running away with her, but this information has been there all along. One of the very first things we were told, our invitations, it said that there is only one boat a day from the mainland to Joy Island, leaving at 12 p.m. sharp. Today, Reginald murders between 5:15 and 6:30, and then shortly after the same evening, mind you, I did suggest to the inspector at the very beginning. I'm going to put it out there, I did say it, but, you know, whatever. The inspector showed us to help solve the murder, but how he didn't hear a thing about it. It's because he was already here. He had been here all day since the boat at 12 p.m. Inspector Howard traveled to Joy Island before the murder had even happened, because he knew it was going to happen, because he was a part of the plan to set Bobby Remy up for the murder of Reginald Remy. That's why most of the clues have been mounting to the point of Bobby. The inspector had been steering the investigation. Bobby Remy did not find and ensure this knew well. Ralph and Reginald did this. We knew we were in the library together alone early this evening. That's when they ripped it up and put it in the fireplace. And yet, they didn't burn it because they wanted to be found, because they were trying to establish a motive for Bobby to murder his father. Money, essentially. They were talking about the business plans. They were talking about this. Their scheme to kill Reginald instead of Bobby. Remember what I overheard Ralph saying, I refuse to do that, father. And the scheme of yours is ridiculous. It will never work. Won't get away with this. Ralph was clearly getting cold feet about the whole thing and about having to stick a knife through his own father's chest, but Reginald talked him back into it. Look, this note from RR, some of you thought Bobby wrote this letter about meeting up behind Ralph's back. You might think that Bobby wrote this intentionally to give himself an alibi so he could claim he was with Lizzie at the time of murder. Bobby did not write this note. He is not RR here. This note was written by Reginald Remy to his son Ralph. Tonight, she read, you promised me he does not deserve our sympathy. Reginald was making sure that Ralph did not have a second thoughts again, and if you don't believe me, she said, just look at the handwriting. We have 100% confirmed that Bobby wrote the other RR note to the cook in the carrot cake, and look at it. That one printed with different handwriting font to this one because they were written by two different people. The handwriting in this note, she waited again, matches the writing on the initial invitation from Reginald. In his checkbook, the truth is Reginald organized the whole weekend to orchestrate his own murder to set his son Bobby with the help of Ralph, who inflicted the final stab wound on their instruction with the inspector, both of whom had hit their own sword skills, with Bobby Remy is a murderer, but he's not our murderer. Our murder was carried out by the three conspiracies, Ralph Remy, Reginald Remy himself, and Inspector Howard Way. Pip dropped a note, watching it glide slowly to the table and caught her breath. It landed right in front of Zach like an arrow. He gulped. Connor was the first to speak. Well, he said, clapping his own hands together. Just well. Shit, your brain is scary. Good. Connor glass. See if I moved again. What? He said that's wrong. And what does that mean? That's not the answer. That's not what happened. It's Bobby. Bobby's the murderer. Okay, so the game said it was Bobby. I like Pip's answer better, but the game did say it was Bobby. So I was right! I solved the murder. It's all good. We can go home now. Thank you. Oh my god. Not a part of our murder mystery. Ah, my little heart. I can't speak any of it. This was a 5. This was perfect. I absolutely love that. Okay, Killjoy is done. This video is done. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please do recommend actual, mysteries that we can do this with, concise mysteries. I'm thinking of going down the routes of, Agatha Christie and shit like that, because that's the only thing I can think of. I'm gonna look up some whodunit mysteries. That's what this whole series is gonna be based on, is whodunit mysteries. So if you have any favorites, and you're like, oh, this will be really fun to map out, please let me know in the comments down below, and we'll play this game again. Obviously, sorry for ruining Killjoy. It is in the novella, but, I was gonna do spoiler talk about it anyways, just for the simple fact I did it about the first C books. This was a 5-star. If you loved the trilogy of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, or if you just loved the first one in general, I highly recommend Killjoy. Even if you know the mystery, there's so many little fun Easter eggs they didn't talk about. It's all based on story characters and stuff. So you'll have a great time, and I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.